everyone. Previously we talked about in previous video we talked about high level versus low level language. So there we learned what is high level language and what is low level language, and there we learned about low level language, machine level language and assembly language. There we learned a term which was assembler. So in assembler we learned that we can translate the assembly language into machine code with using assembler. So in high level language also there is compiler and interpreter for translating the high level language into machine level language. So in this video we will learn about compiler and interpreter. So at first we will learn about what is a compiler. The compiler is a translator that takes input high level languages and produce output of low level language. So compiler is a translator that takes input high level language and produce output of low level language, machine or assembly language. Means it takes high level language and produce output as a low level language or assembly language. The work of compiler is to transform the codes written in the programming language into machine code format of 0 and 1s so the computers can understand. The work of the compiler is to transform codes written in programming language into machine code. Format is binary form 0 and 1. So why we have to format it into 0 and 1 form? Because machine or computer can only understand the machine language. So we have to translate the high level language into the machine code so that computer can understand. So there is a diagram where it is drawn that high level language, compiler, machine level language. High level language is converted to machine level language by the use of compiler. So in compiler what happened? Compiler take the full source code like as an example you can take an example like addition of of two number. So compiler take the full program and convert it to the object file, obj file, and in the obj file the compiler convert the whole source code to the machine code. That's how compilers work. So advantages of compiler: compiled code run faster in comparison to interpreted code, because compiled code convert full source code into the machine code. That's why it run faster. But interpreted code, what happened? Interpreted code execute it by line. That's why compiled code run faster in comparison to interpreted code. After that, compilers help improve the security of applications. So compiler help improve the security of application. Disadvantage of compiler: the compiler can catch only syntax error and semantic errors. Can only catch syntax errors and semantic errors. So now we learn about interpreter. So what is an interpreter? An interpreter is a program that translates a programming language into a comprehensible language. What is the meaning of comprehensible? Meaning understandable. Understandable to the computer, to the machine. So interpreter is a program that translates programming language. Programming language, which programming language? High level programming language into the understandable low level programming language. So interpreter converts high level language into the intermediate language. Same thing. It contains pre-compiled code and source code, etc. Advantages of interpreter: programs written in interpreted language is easier to debug. What is meaning of debugging? Debugging means error finding. So when we use interpreted language, interpreter do what? Interpreter execute program line by line. That's why it is easy to find the errors in the program because it is executing line by line. So that's why program written in an interpreted language are easier to debug. Interpreter allow the management of memory automatically, which reduce memory error risk. Interpreter also reduce memory error risk. Interpreted language is more flexible than compiled language. Why so? Because interpreted language is a language where we execute the program line by line. So that's why it is more flexible other than compiled language. Disadvantages of interpreter. The interpreter can run only the corresponding interpreted program. Interpreted code runs slower in comparison to compiled code. Why so? Interpreted code runs slower. Why? Because it only execute the code line by line. That's why it is slower. In compiler, what happened? In compiled code, the whole source code is compiled at one time and converted it to machine code. But it is in interpreter, what happened? In interpreter, it runs but in interpreter, what happened? Code is executed line by line. That's why interpreted code runs slower in comparison to compiled code. So examples of some compiled language are C, C++, Java, and some interpreted language are Python, JavaScript, PHP. That's so. Thank you for today. In next video we will talk about features of C.